Hello and welcome to Harborview. I'm Joe Collymore. The town meeting has come and gone, leaving substantial changes in store for the town of Hingham. The most heavily disputed of which being the passing of Articles 10, 11, 12, and 13 on the town warrant. With the passing of these articles, Hingham has approved the following actions: to purchase the corporate property and all the rights, privileges, and franchises of the Hingham Water Company, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to act as the Board of Water Commissioners, to establish a water system enterprise fund, and to appropriate, borrow, or transfer funds to be used for any transition costs associated with the purchase of the system, pursuant to Article 10. Two other articles to note were 29 and 24. Article 29 being for a plastic bag reduction and encouragement to utilize reusable bags by law, and Article 24 to issue capital for extraordinary maintenance to Foster School. Both articles passed unanimously. For a complete list of town meeting results from the April 22 and April 23 meetings, and further details of the implications of what changes these articles constitute, go to hingham-ma.gov/719/current-articles. On Sunday, May 19th, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., the Hingham Militia and His Majesty's 1st Regiment of Foot will gather to reenact the Battle of Grape Island at the Hingham Harbor Bandstand, located at the bathing beach. The Battle of Grape Island was the start of a provisions war in Boston Harbor and an important event in the early American Revolution. The public is welcome to commemorate in this historic event, and refreshments will be available. Our guest today is Elizabeth Dings, a member of the Hingham Historical Commission and co-producer of History Abode. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you for asking.
Tell me about this Historical Commission.
The Hingham Historical Commission was established in 1974, and it's an agency under the Selectmen with 6 members, and we oversee historic homes to be on the registry. At the present time, there's approximately 1,500 historic homes on the registry, and that entails for the homeowner to know that they're on the registry. They'll be informed by the town if they don't already know. And there's nothing onerous about being on the registry. It's just if they sell their home and the new buyer wants to tear it down and build a new home, there's a 6-month grace period.
I can only imagine how much tension might exist between a new homeowner who wants to make some renovations and has to clear it with the Historical Commission?
Yes. It's not terribly onerous. It's just to have a conversation so that they know what the reasons why the home is historic. And in fact, Hingham has one of the shortest time frames. For example, Chestnut Hill, it's 1 year. And I believe it's Abington that has 18 months. So most towns have a longer waiting period to try to prevent these historic homes from being destroyed.
How many members are on the Historical Commission, and how long do they serve?
There are 6 members, and everybody serves for 3 years. At the present time, we have Kevin Burke as the chairman. Sarah Caroline is the co-chair. Signe McCullough is also on the board. James Conroy, Steve Dempsey, and myself.
I see, and I would presume that the terms are somewhat staggered so that at least you've got different years in which individuals have to be reappointed or reelected. How is that?
It's more reappointed.
Okay.
Yes, it's a committee where you fill out a talent bank and you're selected by the selectmen. So you're not actually running for an office.
I see. Now let's talk a little bit about History Abode and how that plays into this context of the Historical Commission.
Okay, so History Abode is filmed in conjunction with Harbor Media. Chris Dolan is the producer, and I love the name because it's kind of exactly what it is. It's history right here at home. So it's history in Hingham. And we've been having so much fun with it. I like to think of it as sort of learning in 3D, because we go to the actual site. For example, most recently we were at Major General Benjamin Lincoln's home, and there'll be 3 guests that have something to do, either their relatives, distant relatives, or historic. They're well versed in the historic theme or the historic time period. Mm-hmm. And we just cover little known facts, I think, of what some of the most important historic places in the town of Hingham.
And do you have any major projects on the plan for this year, 2019?
Okay, the commission has plenty of projects, all new this year. So one new project is the essay contest, which is open to all Hingham students, and the prize is $500 cash. And I highly recommend kids, high school age kids, to participate, because it's a great attribute to put on your college resume, plus the cash prize. It can be used any way you want, books or whatever.
In addition to the essay contest, any other major projects?
Oh, yes. And we have a new preservation award, which was the idea of Selectman Healy. He and his wife took a trip to Savannah, Georgia, as well as Charleston, South Carolina, and noticed award plaques on the homes and buildings around the city area. And they were so impressed that they did more research and then brought it back to Hingham. And Selectman Healy asked the commission if we could create a similar award. So this award covers buildings, education, outreach, individuals, businesses, and all of the above could receive an award for preserving something important in Hingham.
And with that type of an award, would you have an award show built around that presentation? And would that be covered by History Abode?
That's a good idea. I didn't even think of that, but that might be. We already had our first presentation. It was covered by Harbor Media, but I never thought of adding it to History Abode. I think that's a great idea.
Tell me more about History Abode. What other projects are you working on regarding History Abode?
Most recently, we were at the shipyard, and we covered all of World War II and what happened, and we had a great guest, Violet Villani. She actually worked at the shipyard building ships during World War II.
I understand that there's a number of residents who, their parents and grandparents have worked at the shipyard during World War II. I know a good friend of mine, last name of Deleuze, their dad, who's since passed on, was a crane operator in the shipyard.
Mm-hmm. So was Violet. Violet was a crane operator. Her husband left for the war, and she didn't want to sit home alone. So someone mentioned, why don't you try the shipyard? And she was from South Hingham. And so, especially back then, people from South Hingham just didn't really travel down to North Hingham. But she went down and got a job, and they said, oh, would you like to be a secretary? No, I don't want to do that. Sounds boring, she said. And so she was a crane operator.
That's amazing. There must be a number of other colorful stories associated with the shipyard.
Yes, the shipyard, or the town of Hingham, is the only town that received an E for excellence from the Navy. Mostly the E for excellence is awarded to a ship. So we are the only town that has that award, which is pretty interesting. And then Selectman Healy was really a strong proponent to save some of the history from the shipbuilding days. And one other interesting artifact is the guard shack, which was an exact replica. And I think people drive by it all the time, not really knowing what it is or why it's there.
Yeah, you're right.
So we have, in the coming up History Abode, we have pointed out at the shipyard all the different things to look for.
Can you tell me about other projects beside the shipyard that History Abode is looking at working on going forward, without letting too much of the element of surprise out of the box, so to speak?
That's a good point. So the next episode may be based on the bell tower, which is next to the old ship church. There's some renovations being done there, and so we'd like to cover that. And then also we're hoping to get into the old ordinary and have a little program there if possible. So those are two that we have in the works.
I also recently learned that the Pilgrim Historical Society are celebrating the 400th anniversary of the Mayflower landing. And of course, when we then trace the dots and connect it back to Hingham, I'm curious to know if there are any plans in the works in which to profile some of our local history as it connects back to the Pilgrims.
I think that's a great idea. In fact, my son is a Mayflower member. And I did that for him because they have scholarships. So when he was applying for college, I missed the deadline, but I got all the paperwork in. So he is the only one in our family that actually has the membership card. My husband applied for it recently, so now he's a member. And our other son will probably become a member as well. But my mother-in-law is a Hopkins. And so it's a straight line back to Stephen Hopkins, who came over on the Mayflower with Elizabeth Hopkins. And they had the baby Oceanus.
Ah, yes.
And it's a pretty interesting story, but I think that you have a great idea here to kind of connect the dots with Hingham and Plymouth.
That should be a lot of fun and quite interesting. Elizabeth, tell me about this Battle of Grape Island.
That's a good question. The Battle of Grape Island is a reenactment, and we're on the 3rd annual reenactment this year, coming up, I think, in just a couple weeks. And it was a joint effort between the Veteran Services, Hingham Historical Commission, and the Harbor Committee. And basically, it reenacts something that happened in 1775. Elijah Levitt lived on Grape Island. And what he was doing, he was a loyalist and a Tory, and what he was doing was providing the British soldiers that were in Boston to come to the island, and he'd give them livestock and hay for their survival. Well, the Hingham militia figured out what was happening, or eventually saw the soldiers and thought we were under attack. So hence the Battle of Grape Island. So it's a great event. I highly recommend it. And it is brought to you by the Hingham Historical Commission, Veteran Services, and the Harbor Committee. You know,
I got to tell you, it was last year when I first witnessed this reenactment. And I was literally driving by the Hingham bandstand. And here are these militiamen in period costume. And they were firing off their musket. And I said, holy crap, look what's going on here. And I quickly pull into the parking lot and then hurried over to catch the rest of the reenactment. It was a lot of fun watching that play out. So this is the 3rd year coming up.
Yes, yeah, not
That's
to be
very
missed.
Cool. Tell me more about your work on the actual Historical Commission, and who were your inspirations in the work that you do? Thank you.
I was truly inspired by our town historian, Alexander McMillan, who had a big hand in the Greenbush Fund, the Greenbush Trust Fund. He came to a meeting one night and had an idea, and the way that he delivered his speech, he really brought history to life. And that's when it dawned on me that if we could get him on camera and all the information, he has, it could be really interesting. So he is a big part of History Abode. He's my co-host and really does all the technical work. So he has the memory and can just pull up facts, and he's the most interesting person, and he really inspired me to come to Chris Dolan, the producer here at Harbor Media, and ask him if we could produce this show. So he was one inspiration, and I think also the selectmen, all three really inspire me. I think they do an amazing job. Paul Healy has definitely had a passion for history, and he was the one that came up with the idea for the Preservation Award. He fought so diligently to make sure that the shipyard didn't lose its historic purpose, and really there's so many pieces at the shipyard, which you can see in the show, the History Abode show that takes place at the shipyard, that he fought for. So he was another inspiration. Just everybody who works in this town, volunteers their time, works at town hall, they're all my inspiration, because it's really what makes the town special. Everybody's very protective and passionate, and for the most part, it shows in the town. It's stayed a really pretty historic town, and that came from the hard work of the citizens over all these years, and they continue to be really wonderful, hardworking people with good common sense.
Can you mention any other influences?
Yes. Andrea Young, she is the administrator of the Hingham Historic Commission, as well as the Hingham Historic Districts Commission. And she is a great inspiration. She's very knowledgeable, she's very easy to approach, and I always have a million questions, and she's always takes my phone calls, and she's great fun to be with. She was very supportive of the show History Abode, so that was helpful. And she's just an all-around nice lady. So she's been a great inspiration as well.
What else can we talk about that I haven't touched on with respect to either the Historical Commission or the History Abode?
Well, I'm often known for giving out spoiler alerts, so
okay.
careful with the show. The commission, I think, is really growing in the fact that we have more ideas every meeting. There's an idea in the works to bring a circus to town as a fundraiser, because that's kind of an old-fashioned thing that would happen in Hingham. And there's a circus that comes through this area, and it's a non-animal circus. So Stephen Dempsey came up with that idea, and it may happen this year, and if it doesn't, it'll probably happen next year. So we have that in the works. The essay contest is new this year. The Preservation Award is new this year. The History Abode is new this year. So I think this year has been a great year for the commission. And we also, one thing I hadn't mentioned, we're in charge of the Green Bush Trust. So every year there's an application that'll go out, and anyone, any business or home that lives in a historic district near the MBTA tracks, within 100 feet, I believe, can apply, and the grant is $100,000 each year. So usually we get 5 to 7 applicants, and then it's divvied up, and that can go towards restoration, which is a great, kind of a little unknown fact, but it's a great opportunity for anybody who lives along that plane that needs any kind of renovation or home improvement, business improvement. For example, the golf club is owned by the town, and I believe they're going to put in an application this year. So that's probably one of the biggest things that we do, is the Green Bush Trust Fund.
And again, any business or home within 100 feet of the MBTA Greenbush line can apply, and they could apply for funds to upgrade their facility. It doesn't necessarily have to restore to its original because of its historic roots, so to speak.
Right.
Is there a deadline for application?
May 1st.
May 1st. That's like literally days away.
Right.
And where can they find more information online?
If you go to the Hingham website, the Hingham Historic Commission has its own website within the town website, and there's a link to click on, and then you can probably get all your facts straight, because
Sure.
I'm kind of guessing on some of these facts, but it's a great opportunity, and I think a lot of people kind of miss out on that.
Yeah. Elizabeth, this has been fun sitting here and chatting with you about the Historical Commission and, of course, History Abode. It's been nice. We've got to get you back.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. It's always nice to see you.
Great to have you again.
It was great fun.
All right. Our next guest is Marianne Blackmur, Executive Director of the Hingham Community Center. Welcome, Marianne.
Thank you, Joe. It's nice to be here. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well. You know, we recently met with Elizabeth Dings, who's a member of the Hingham Historical Commission. And I understand that the Hingham Community Center was a venue for an awards program that was put on by the Historical Commission.
It was a really neat event. We were so happy to host that event. It was the first ever Preservation Award ceremony. And we were delighted that the Historical Commission approached the community center to, co-host the event with them. And it really, for me, was great to have all these people. It was like the historic royalty of Hingham, honestly, in the room, and remind them that the Hingham Community Center is a historic building. It's 300 years old. It's the Ensign John Thaxter House. We have a mural in the front room from the 1700s. And I was delighted. It was a great, great ceremony.
What are some of the other events that one can look to have at the community center?
Well, the Hingham Community Center is your neighborhood gathering place, something for everyone. So we are a reflection of the community. We have public events. We have a big fundraising event tomorrow night, which is the 26th of April. We're having an event on Monday, the 28th. The dates are on Jill Jardine and Friends, a psychic astrologer night. We are having a fencing demonstration on Saturday the 27th. So those are in addition to our normal programming. We have karate, tai chi, children's dance. We have acting programs for kids. We have community events. Recently, a citizen approached and said, there's all this online social media chatter, and people are getting heated and having discussions, and I really want people to discuss this issue face to face. Would the community center be willing to host this event? Of course, because you're a community center and that's what we do. So we provided the space for this event to be hosted. So we really are whatever the community would like us to host. We are open to all ideas. And so give us a call, or you can stop me in the grocery store or the fruit center, whatever, or email me or call me. We really want to be there for the community. We are a relevant part of the community, and we can be as diverse as we want because we are a private 501c3. We're not part of the town, so we can work independently. So
you mean that any citizen in the community can approach the community center and say, look, I'd like to put on maybe it's a friends and family gathering of some sort?
Yes. So we also have event rentals.
Okay.
So you can use the space for fundraisers, family parties, baptisms, graduation parties, birthday parties. So you can use it as a rental. We host community events. If there's no charge, then we will host it. There are rental fees, but we are by far the most affordable space in Hingham, especially in downtown Hingham in a historic building.
Tell me a little bit more about some of the upcoming programs that you've got planned.
So I have a cheat sheet because we have a
ahead.
lot of
That's
things.
right.
And last time I left something out. And we have some summer programming coming up, which is really exciting for us because what we did at the community centers, we don't want to compete with anybody. We just want to find our niche in the community and find a space that we can fill in. So we have, in addition to our summer karate and our tai chi, and we have a new fencing program, we have Wicked Cool for Kids STEAM camps. And there's a med camp, a Dino versus Robots, and a rocket ship camp, and those are week-long 9 to 12 half-day camps. We also have a teen fitness program with Diana Durker. She's one of our teachers. We have a Girls Fit Club, which is for ages 8 to 12 with Miss Lauren. And we have Miss Amy's Summer Dance for kids 2 to 10. Stage Door Studios as a Disney on Broadway. It's not a camp, I'm sorry, it's a program. And then we have Dance Along for 16 months to 3.5 years old. Really cool thing that we also have, talk about diversity, is Rabbi Levi Lazelle rents this space. He's part of Chabad of the South Shore and provides adult education sessions where he talks about different topics. So that's a really diverse.
That is diverse.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I was going to ask if there's anything left.
There is. There's probably things that I left out. But again, we're a reflection of the community, so therefore our programming is diverse. We also have pop-up shops. People come to us for pop-up shops. We have somebody that wants to teach about essential oils. So that's good. Actually, a Zumba class is going to be coming. We also have like a boot body fitness on Wednesday night. So we're really trying to fill in the spaces. We also have, actually, I didn't put this on here, which I should have, is Changing Waves, which is a program. These women are teachers, and it's for kids on the spectrum at ASD, and I believe it's 18 to 26 the ages. You have to go to the website, hinghamcommunitycenter.org, just to double check, but it's called Changing Waves, and they're providing social groups, and they're using different spaces at the community center to do that. So we are providing space, for people to rent for programs, and we're also sponsoring programs. But again, it's also open to rentals. We're air conditioned. So if you want to have that birthday party and you don't want to have it at your house, the community center is a great place to have it.
Now, I don't want to get too deep into price, but are the rental fees reasonable?
They are probably the most reasonable. Okay. We did a comparison when we set the prices. Our fees include tables and chairs and setup and breakdown of such tables and chairs, as well as the staff fee, which with Tony. So that's for and when you rent the ballroom, you also get the front room. So it is really affordable. We want to make it accessible. Again, make a historic building in downtown Hingham accessible to the public. So, we are different because we have programs moving all the time and different things, whereas the other historical buildings are historical. Like, Old Derby or the Hingham Heritage Museum is a museum, and they do provide space for events, but they provide speaker series, all sorts of events, tavern night at Old Ordinary. So we're not in competition with them, and that's why our pricing is different, because we are a different type of venue. But we work collaboratively, so it's great. So if you, depending on your budget and what you want to have, downtown Hingham, we provide all sorts of venues for you.
Let's talk about parking. When one has an event there, yes, where are people parking?
There's on-street parking. There's parking along the side of the building. There's parking across the street in the town parking lot behind Hingham Savings. And there is also parking further down on Station Street. We do ask that you don't park in the CVS parking lot, but we've never really had an issue with parking.
Are there other unique features and offerings of the Hingham Community Center that we haven't touched on?
Oh, well, we're just a unique building. Again, we provide access to a 300-year-old building at a reasonable price, and then even through programming. So, like, I didn't talk about Clan Lear, which is an Irish step dancing program that's there 4 nights a week. So Clan Lear actually owns 2 studios. I believe one's in Providence and one maybe in Situate. I can't remember where the other one is. But people are so happy to just be in Hingham and be able to have their child practice at the community center. It's a great program. It's competitive. And we put on a St. Patrick's Day, really successful St. Patrick's Day family event. And they performed, Clan Lear performed, and it was great. Next year, we're actually it was so successful that next year we're going to run it similar to our Santa breakfast, which is have seatings and pre-registration, and have, hopefully, our community kitchen will be done by then. If not, we'll get the appropriate food permitting, and maybe have some corned beef and cabbage and things like that. So because it was so successful, because there is nothing like that on the South Shore. And it was great to see so many generations. It was an intergenerational event. And it's great because Clan Lear was there. Rosamond Conroy and her friends were there for the band. They donated their time. Miss Donna was there doing fairy hair and fairy tables. Diane Nesarella was doing, she does a sand art. And it was great. All those people donated their time. And that's what makes the community center so great too. So yeah, we we are having a program open house in August 29th. So if you're interested in any of the programs between now and then, please stop in. But we are having an open house August 29th for people to come in. And this year we're actually included on the historic house tour for the Hingham Historical Society, which is really fabulous. And we're going to be the place where people can pick up their bag lunch from the Fruit Center. And we're looking into having some activities for children in the ballroom and things like that. Because the house tour, I think, it might be 100 years old this year for the Historical Society. And they do a great job. So we're just happy to be able to collaborate with them to make their event really successful. Or more successful, I should say. They got it pretty down pat.
Well, that certainly sounds like a real full venue of,
Yes.
That really sounds like a real full plate of activities at this unique venue that we've got here in the Hingham
We're
Community
always
Center.
looking for more. I touched upon earlier, but I want to talk about the community kitchen.
Oh, yes.
So that's one of the things. So some of the improvements, the changes that are coming up, we've had a lot more activity coming through since I've been there, be there 7 months. Not that I'm counting the days. But we realized, we need some updating and things like that. So we looked this, if you go in the ballroom, we have this great little courtyard in the back, but you can't really get to it. So I'm actually applying for a grant from the Historical Commission to provide access, so just a door out to the backyard from the ballroom. And it will be wonderful because it will bring some light into the ballroom, but also just open up some outdoor space. So that'll be great for events if you want to put a tent out back, if you want to have a reception there. It's a great space that we really don't utilize as well because there's limited access. So the other thing is that we want to do a community kitchen. We want to provide space for organizations like Wellspring to come in and use the cooking space to teach cooking lessons. Also for Launch 2, which is currently housed in the Old Ship, which is a community-based program for adults with special needs, developmental, and provides them a place to go in the community. And I would love to see them come and cook muffins for breakfast, lunch served to the community, similar to Cardinal Cushing. That would be just so phenomenal for me to see that. Also, like Hingham Women's Club, if they want to do meals for Rosie's Place, they want to make meals for Father Bill's, really have a place where the community can gather in the kitchen to cook or to serve. It's just a wonderful thing it's a vision that I have that many other people before me have had. So we do have some people that have already donated. I would just like to see it upon completion.
Tell me about your board. I understand you may have new members coming on your board.
So I can't say specifically, but we are in the process of acquiring new board members, which is very exciting because, as many people know, we have had some changes in the last 4 or 5 years, and now the direction is moving forward. We were fortunate prior to have most of our funding through programming, which is highly unusual for a 501c3. Yes. So now we're falling into step of a more traditional 501c3, doing fundraising and acknowledging that most of our funding comes from individual and corporate sponsors, which currently we don't have any. So individual and corporate sponsors, look out because you'll be hearing from me. We'll be rolling out a brick campaign, blended sponsorship packages for corporations, including tables at Cabaret, which is coming back in January of 2020. So we have a lot of exciting things going on. And we're really looking for the community to help us move forward because your support today is critical to the future of the Hingham Community Center. So you'll be hearing a lot about that.
You mentioned the brick program. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So I'm excited about that. That's going to be rolling out we're going to offer it to the corporate sponsors as part of their packages first, and then we're going to be opening it up to the public. We are asking for a minimum donation of $300. We are in a 300-year-old building. They're going to be going out front, so it's prime spot in downtown Hingham to have your name engraved for eternity. There'll be the bottom platform and then the top platform. And Ray Dupra has been very kind to give us the estimate and do some work for that. We're currently working on a brick where we're actually getting the bricks because this is a lot of work. It's not as easy as people think. There's a lot of research that goes into it because we do want it to look appropriate, the facade of the building, and there are bricks along the sidewalk. So that's really exciting for us because there are so many people that do believe in the community center, that have sponsored in the past. So this is a nice way to acknowledge them publicly forever in the front of the building. Yeah. So we'll move out to the back, but we want to get the front settled first. So be on the lookout for that. And, you know, the form's not up yet, but if you want to give money, you just come on down. We're all up for that.
You know, the work of the Hingham Community Center requires some serious backing from the community at large in which to support the work of this nonprofit organization. How do you see going about that happening?
Well, I've been working on it the last 7 months since I started here, that we, you know, the community center, I want it to be relevant in the community. And I think it is becoming that by raising awareness. People are like, oh, that's right, it's a community center. But you can support the community center by participating in programs, renting it for family events, fundraisers, coming to us with ideas. We want that space booked all the time. And we want the community to know that this is your community center. This is for you. If you have an idea, come to us. We will try to make it happen. And as I said prior, we are going to be rolling out fundraising, which we haven't really done before. So we really need people to support us because we are in a position that we need the support of the community to happen. We have no endowment. We have no trust fund. So if you love the community center, the idea of a community center, just knowing that you have a neutral place to go in town, that if you want to have an event, if you want to have a community discussion. I just had somebody from the high school call me, a senior. They have this class, the Holocaust and something, and I'm sorry I don't know the entire title of the class, but it requires them to do a community project. And she had this particular community project, and they called the community center. And it was great. I was able to help her because of my knowledge within the community. I was able to connect her with some people, and she was very grateful and said, wow, thank you. But I'm grateful that people are thinking of the community center to go to first with ideas. And that's what I want people to know, that we are here for the community. We have space for what your needs are. And in particular, the special needs community, you know, we looked and said, okay, seniors have Linden Ponds. They have a very vibrant senior center in Hingham. Recreation is very vibrant. There's all sorts of stuff going on at recreation. But then we said, wait a minute, where does SNAP have to go? They go to South School, they go to the rec, which is great, but we want them to know that they have a home at the community center. So that's where this Changing Waves came. And we want other people to know that you have a place here. We have space. If you want to use it, we'll make it happen. We make it affordable for them because it is important that everybody has a space in the community. And I wanted to just touch base too. I forgot one really exciting program that's coming up.
What's that?
And it's a community event. It's called Knock Down the House. I hope I have it right.
Knock Down the House.
Knock Down the House. It's a film. It's the South Shore Women's Caucus of the South Shore. Women's Caucus of the South Shore. It's a political organization. Called me and said, hey, we want to have this showing of this film. Great. And it has to be not a fundraiser. It has to be done by nonprofits. So it's the guidelines of this specific documentary that Netflix has put out. And it's about the current elections, women in political office and things like that. So I think that's fabulous. So I said, of course. I said, yes, of course. So that's going to be, I believe, May 31st, but check the website. And again, that's free of charge. Just, again, a community service because that's what a community center does. But we do need the support of the community financially in order to make these other community events happen. So it's they go together.
What do you like about your job as executive director of the Hingham Community Center?
Well, it's challenging. I
get a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff going on.
Yes.
But I really love the community, and I love the community Hingham. From a very young age, have always been about building community. I don't know if it's because I'm from a big family. I'm one of 8. I'm 6th in line. But it's a natural thing for me to build community, to make people feel included. I was involved with Hingham Youth Football. When I was PTO co-president, we started Foster Fall Fair. I was on the Hingham 4th of July Parade Committee for a long time. It's just a very natural instinct for me to build community. And then, as you know, I graduated from college a year ago. And during that process, when I was going to school, I realized that this thing was called leadership. I had no idea. I thought I was just bossy. But it's not bossy. It's called leadership. And I just want people to know that they belong somewhere, from young kids, because when people feel like they have a sense of belonging, they're less likely, especially for children and teenagers, to engage in risky behavior. For adults, it just reduces anxiety, depression. Just want people to feel like they belong and that they have a place to go. So it's just part of, I think, a higher calling for me in my faith, that I feel like this is what I should do. I don't know if I'm particularly good at it. I'm extraordinarily grateful that people believe in me. I'm always amazed, but I couldn't do it alone. It's not really about me. It's other people willing to engage in whatever activity or collaboration that I want them to. So you cannot do this alone. It takes a community. Indeed it does.
Marianne, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit and chat and give us an update on what's going on with the Hingham Community Center.
Anytime. So www.hinghamcommunitycenter.org. We're at 70 South Street. Come on by. Nice to see you as always, Joe.
Good to see you as well, Marianne. Thank you.